All right, here we are. 3,
Here we are.
2, 1. We're recording. Hi, everybody. This is Monica with No Conditions. I'm here with Sean Shroeder. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging with me. I was telling earlier about how I said your name, and everybody literally was like, "This is going to be a great podcast. This is going to be awesome." I can't
Well,
wait.
I hope I don't disappoint.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I know it's a Sunday, pain in the ass to do it, but I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no, hopefully this will be fun, and
Oh,
we'll talk on some interesting points.
exactly. This is going to be a
Yes.
fun time. So I'm just going to dig right in. What, oh, what is your take on all this shit that's going on? Honestly, because you were
On the
talking about
COVID,
TikTok. You were talking about TikTok, so I know you've gone down the TikTok rabbit hole.
when I was talking about TikTok, how did you know I was talking about TikTok? Did I talk? I didn't talk about that with you. Did I?
Uh-huh.
When did I talk about that with you?
You just said I was
Oh,
on
okay.
TikTok.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, well, I'll tell you my take on all this.
Please.
Okay, so I started a private Facebook group for what is happening now, but I
Mhm.
started it like last summer.
So before any of this shit even started.
Before any of this even happened, I started the private group because I knew that I was going to have to migrate people off of my main Facebook page because nobody gets what I'm putting up there. Because a lot of people don't. I do this all day long, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I research, I look, I constantly. That's all I do. So I have points that connect that you wouldn't know connect if you're just watching this.
Hmm.
But there's 20 other things that go on, and I'll come to a conclusion that people will go, "What the was that?" Well, because of this. So I started this private Facebook group to try to explain to people when this time hit what was taking place so that they could kind of gain some perspective. A lot of them probably still think I'm nuts. And I'll actually post this in that group. I'll post this. And so a lot of them probably think I'm still like off my rocker, but I'm not, because I
Yeah.
actually prepared for this, and here we are.
Hmm.
So the COVID-19 is a multi-pronged thing. It's not just one thing. It's the vaccination program, tracking program, because the virus will mutate. So what's the point in creating this big thing about this, creating a vaccine for this virus when it's going to be different next year?
Hmm.
So it's a tracking program. It's not this thing. They're setting up a whole tracking program to track everybody. So that's a no deal. But Trump, I don't believe, wants any of this. I really don't think he wants any of it.
I don't think he wants any of it.
No. And so he's using it, and everybody thinks Trump is this benevolent guy. Oh, he loves the people. And he does. But he really just needs the people because he has a legacy. He has a family that he wants to create what he wants to create. And all of this, have you ever heard of Agenda 2030?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, TikTok.
Okay. Right. Which all ties into this as well.
Yeah.
So Agenda 2030 basically will wipe out a lot of just private ownership, personal property. So you won't have, the Constitution goes away entirely. So he's doing this, and he is benevolent, but he also has personal interest in this. And so I think people need to realize that too, which is fine. I want him to win. Why wouldn't you want, what doesn't take anything away from me if he succeeds. So,
Well, he's a businessman, and that's a good
yeah,
thing. Any
yeah,
businessman is going to tell you that that's the one thing that the reason why I appreciate him is because number one, he is a businessman. If we do not succeed, he doesn't succeed. Even though he is a narcissistic little fart box, I
I
really
like
don't
him.
care. I like him. It's no different than seeing that fat kid win the hot dog eating contest. That's probably going to kill him. You want him to succeed, just so he can, because everybody else that's in the running, they're not going to benefit anything out of this campaign. And if they win, they're not going to benefit from it. Trump is still young enough to where he has a ton of shit out there that he's making money off of that he needs us to do the heavy lifting. So
and what is he? He's like 70 years old. I mean, that guy's doing great. He's like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
and that
Right.
is his own hair. As a beautician, I'm going to tell you that is his own hair.
Oh, really? I've never even given any thought to his hair,
Yeah.
but that is good to know.
You know
That's
what's the
good to
little
know.
things.
Yeah.
So
So
back to
anyway,
this. Yeah.
yeah. So Bill Gates and that whole pharmaceutical industry wanted to have wanted to have the tracking and all that stuff. I was preparing my group for the financial collapse
Mm-hmm.
because both sides want the financial collapse, both sides. But it's who's going to take control of the reins that is kind of the issue. You got a group, Trump side, that wants freedom, that wants people to have a certain sense of sovereignty within themselves, and then you got the all-domineering left side that wants to micromanage every single person. Literally, these people are Hunger Games. That is who they are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So we would end up in a world like Hunger Games if this didn't go unchecked.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Which, if people haven't seen Hunger Games, basically you're saying they're segregating the rich, not so rich, the poor, not so poor. I mean, segregating every single community, every part of the money scheme, basically.
And everybody below the super elite are there for their pleasure. It doesn't matter if they hunt them. Like, that's what goes on in the elite circles already. Is they have weird. It's really disgusting. Like, if people, I'm not going to go too far into that because I don't know if people's brains are really ready to understand. Yeah, how dark it gets. But so the whole COVID thing is Trump is using it. It was their agenda, but he already knows. We know the plan. So he just lets them do it, hang themselves, and flips the script. Lets them do it, hangs himself, flip the script. Lets them do it, and they're not creative enough. And this plan has been so far-reaching. This is 100 years in the making, if not more. Mm-hmm. So it's already a plan. They can't deviate from the plan. So they only have this plan, and we know the plan. So let him hang himself, flip it, hang and flip it, hang and flip it. We're just walking. So that's why it's taking as long as it is to fix, because now you could arrest all these guys because they've broken laws all the way, and then it's just going to be one fell swoop. They're going to arrest a lot of them. Mm-hmm. That's what I understand to be true. How I got into this, though, is I had a gym and in Corning. It's like, these guys in Orland?
That is one of my best friends.
Yes.
Shout out to JC and Helen.
Yes. I don't work out there because I'm not close enough. But mm-hmm. I had a gym very similar to that gym. Mm-hmm. So, which is why I went and bought the hat. Yeah. And so I ran some hard times and I needed cardiovascular equipment. So I started trading stock in penny stocks to make money to pay for my gym equipment. Well, I ended up in a sting operation on the good side. Side. Yeah, ended up in a sting operation on the good side, where we trapped some of the biggest players on the globe, manipulating markets and stocks and selling stock that doesn't exist. It's called naked short selling. So basically what you do is, because everything's electronic, mm-hmm. they just would sell you stock that didn't exist. So like I don't know if you know how the stock market works, but there's an authorized share count. So if you have a company, say you have an oil field and you want to market it, so you go to the Securities Exchange Commission, they give you an authorized amount of shares to sell, but you don't ever want to sell more than 49% of those shares because you want to have controlling interest. You want to have 51%. So, sorry, I drank a bunch of coffee, so I'm kind of.
You're fine.
What these guys were doing was, say you have an authorized share count of, let's say 1 million shares. Mm-hmm. Well, we knew these guys were out there selling shares and putting companies down. What these guys would do is come in, offer financing to companies that didn't have a lot of opportunity, and then offer them financing, and then say you have to meet these goals. And if not, then we get a portion of your company in stock. Well, then they would flood the market with shares that didn't exist. Their stock price could never rise, so they could never meet those goals. And then they would just take their technology or take their oil field and they did that to 7,000 companies between 1992 and like 2003.
Is this the same as Wolf of Wall Street?
It all ties together, same stuff.
Jordan Belfort, yeah. I remember.
And The Big Short. Yeah. There's also a movie called The Margin Call. Margin Call deals with all this stuff. So yeah, so I lived in that world. where we caught them though. So what we did is we pretended to be a floundering company, had authorized shares out there, and then we bought them all back. So there were no shares out there. And then we watched 1 million shares trade the next day. And then we watched another 1 million shares trade the next day. And then 5 million shares. And then, so these guys just kept pumping out shares, and we're just documenting the whole thing. Yeah. So that's what created the 2008, the housing crash. That was all part of what we did, what our group did. Was, yeah, but that was when I started working at Farwood, I think in 2007, right when we went into the crash. And so the whole time I was at Farwood, I mean, I was getting death threats. People tried to run my family over. I'm driving home on 99 between Corning and Orland, and one time I had a car just out of nowhere, just come up right behind me. The lights came on out of nowhere, came up behind me, sat there for 45 seconds, and then just dropped back. I thought I was dead. Like, I've had all kinds of events like that.
Man.
So that's how I started getting into the conspiratorial stuff a little bit, because it wasn't a conspiracy anymore. Like, these guys are actually trying to take over the world.
It was out in the forefront. Yeah.
Yeah, they're putting all the little guys down, and they're taking all their stuff, and they're just consolidating. So from that, we won that battle, but we didn't get a settlement because the story goes on. The settlement was collected, but they wouldn't pay us because we took this money from the biggest guys in the world, and so now we would become a mark.
Ew, so you can't benefit from it, or you would be.
They're going to take it back. They're going to get it back. They're going to get it back. So, so we never got paid. We never got a settlement on it. We never got anything on it. And the amount of shares, how we won, how we were utilized as shareholders, is we went out and bought all the fake stock. And so when it's very odd, we bought all the fake stock. So when we approached them with the criminal activity, look, you guys sold these shares for a penny a share to flood the market. Well, actually, the company's worth 50 cents a share. So you can either go to jail, or you can buy everybody's shares back for 50 cents.
That didn't exist.
That didn't exist. Buy all the fake shares back. So that's where the settlement is, and it sits there until the financial reset, which I said both sides want to crash the economy. So one for good, one for bad. So that led me into learning about the Constitution. Now, I don't know how many people actually read the Constitution or understand the Constitution, but it's a very, very simple, basic document. Very simple. And the world that we live in is nowhere near the Constitution. Even the one that you think is the integral one is not. No. If that makes sense.
I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
I'm a business owner. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So we have not been on the original organic Constitution that was ratified in 1787. We have not been on that. We were on that for about 100 years, and it was superseded it was taken over by the Act of 1871, where we went from a constitutional republic into a corporation, a charter. It was the Act of 1871 put us in a corporate charter. So now we became, over time, they made us corporations. And the way that you can know that, do you have like a bill sitting next to you, anything with your name, your driver's license, anything like that sitting on your desk?
Yeah.
Okay, look at your name on that piece of paper. Is it in all capital letters?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the business world, in the commerce world, you're considered dead. It's a fake entity, so it's dead. The only other place you see capital letters is on tombstones. So you're considered a deceased person. But what rich people know that you don't know, that most people don't know, is you can reclaim your status, and you can put them on notice that you're a living person, you're a living man. Person is a legal entity. You're a living woman. I'm a living man. But a person is considered a legal fiction. The wording is how they get everybody. So you think you're living in one system, but you're not. You're living in a completely different world of words. Like, have you ever heard that you don't need a driver's license?
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
And as long as you're going to and from work and
long as you're
going to a
traveling.
destination, as long as you're traveling to a destination.
So
You can
traveling
go
is
on
the word.
cruise. Yeah.
Traveling is the word. You don't want to be driving because driving is a commercial word.
Mhm.
That's why you need a driver's license, but
Yep.
you don't need a license to travel.
Mm-mm.
And that's the difference between public and private. So all these rich people, what they do is, and I've actually done this paperwork myself, they're adhesion contracts. The Constitution's still in full effect. It has never went anywhere, but we've walked out of it through adhesion contracts. We've contracted with this and with that and with this and with that. And every time you contract, now you've made an agreement that has limited your rights. So if you put people on notice and you back out of you remove your signature from those contracts,
Mhm.
then and you amend the contract, you can still have a driver's license, but not be, pardon me, and not be not have to operate in that same realm. It's weird. Like when I get pulled over, I got pulled over coming out of Orland, and I was going to do our podcast, and
Uh-huh.
I was running late. So you know how they just put the fire lanes in there,
Yeah.
the new fire lanes. So I had ended up behind 3 cars, all going like 40 miles an hour, and I'm like, oh my god. So I pop into the fire lane, and I got up to 70 miles an hour, past 3 cars, and then dart back in. And then the car behind me got smart and did the same thing. Only he didn't get smart; he was a highway patrol.
Bullshit.
And he gets behind me, and he pulls me over, and he asked my license, so I give it to him. And he comes back 30 seconds later, and he goes, "It's your lucky day. I just got an emergency call. I hope you're super embarrassed for all the people that saw you get pulled over." Da, 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 and sent me. He was really actually a very nice. He was a nice guy, but he gave me a little lecture and set me on my way, and then sat behind me the whole way to Chico, because I have a do not detain on me, because I have put people on notice that I'm a living man, and a living man and a dead system can't coincide. So all the statutes, codes, and all that stuff, they can't apply them to me because I'm a living entity, and I'm
So
not
how
relating.
is it just from research that you've done this and just learned
Yeah,
how to?
and I've made a lot of mistakes. Like I said, you know how there's going to be mass arrests. I
Yeah.
don't know because I'm such a loudmouth in this whole community. I've been a loudmouth in a lot of ways. I've stayed pretty low key, but government knows who I am.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, people, those guys know. And so I don't wonder, if some of the mistakes, I don't know if maybe someday they're going to come back to bite me, because I got it right now. But I don't know if some of the things I tried were really like, I got to find out if this is real or not. So I just roll the dice. and,
You know, most of this shit that's been going on, it's, don't you feel it in the air? Like, don't you feel every conversation that you have with somebody, it's either one of two ways. It's either highly aggressive or they are just like sheep. There's no fight
Mhm.
them. There's nothing. And this is the first time. Now, mind you, I've been doing hair for 24 years. That means that I have been around, I mean, just like you, when you bartended, you probably saw more people in a day-to-day and different personalities. You have to change your hat every single time. And there's several different hats that you have to wear. I only have 2. I either see whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. That's it. There's no in between. And I tell you what, the ones that are pro Biden or were pro Hillary, at the time, there was no, we will agree to disagree type thing. And now it's getting even worse. There are people that are unfriending people on a social network. There are people who won't even speak to each other.
I've dumped a few.
You have to, but only because of it. It's and 9 times out of 10, I'm the type, I could turn a blind eye, and I just truly hope that those people don't vote or just decide not to get involved. But it's so fucking aggressive. Like, they're just, and they really truly, there's 2 people that are battling and they're going, I'm right, and the other one's going, I'm right too, and you're wrong and you're stupid, and then you're nothing but a piece of shit. I never remember it being like this. And I don't know if it's the times or if it's Trump. I don't know. Like, I really wish that I knew what was the cause of this, because we didn't have this with Clinton. We didn't have this. I mean, we had a little bit with Obama, but that was for
Funny.
different reasons,
Mhm.
but I never remember people being so aggressive. This is the first time.
So if we go back further in my history into the 90s, initially I was going to go into advertising. So, well, let me go back far.
Hey, I got time. Go for it.
Take
me down the rabbit hole.
when I was younger, I was a hellion. I was a drug user, used drugs, sold drugs. I was a thief. I got fired. I used to work for Holiday Market. I got fired for embezzling money when I was like 18. I mean, that was bad. And like I said, I barely graduated high school, like skin on my teeth stuff. And then I fell in love with this girl, and she just wouldn't touch me. And at some point I figured out, wait a minute, maybe it's not her, maybe it's me. And so I went on this rampage from 19 years old to about 27, where I did nothing. I didn't drink, I didn't use drugs. I studied everything. I read the Bible from cover to cover. I read every psychology thing I could get my hands on, metaphysics. And then I was going to go into advertising, and I ended up studying unconscious advertising. And I mean, I didn't even have sex during that 7 years. Nothing. I did nothing.
Holy
I was a monk.
shit.
Yeah, I know. I was a monk for like 7 years. But then I got into studying advertising, and then I started understanding, holy shit, these guys are programming people. That's why 9/11. I instantly saw when 9/11 happened. This isn't what they say it is. This is not what they say it is at all, because my eyes were already starting to open. They were already there. So, but in advertising, so they put subliminal, like, messaging with words and stuff, and just soap operas, like all day long. Just so women that are sitting there watching soap operas all day long and have it in the background while they're doing other stuff, you're getting program. So I think for the last 20 or 30 years, through movies, television, radio, like, I don't know if you understand this, they've actually changed, and this happened in the 1950s, they changed the frequency that all music's played at. It used to be what, I don't use this very much, so I can't remember, but it used to be like one frequency, and they moved it up a pitch, which is disharmonious. It's not as harmonious as the original. So they've changed everything. Your whole landscape, everything that you think is one thing is not that thing. It's something evil.
Well, also too, it's funny because I know it is a movie, but there's a lot of people saying it's the Matrix hole. It's it really truly is to me, I'm wondering, at the end of all of this, the woke, as they say, you got to get woke, you got to do this and that. There's just some people that really don't want to believe it. Even if the hard facts are there, and they realize that all of this was planned, all of this was brought to you. Who knows? My parents wouldn't have started smoking if they wouldn't have seen a commercial of it, or they wouldn't, these little subliminal messages.
That doctors recommended it for stress.
Exactly. And you're wondering, are these people really happy with it? Are they happy with the decisions that they made? Do they really want to know the truth? Do you feel like you really want to know the truth? At the end of the day, it's just better to just bite the bullet and find out the truth, and instead of just living this lie.
It's almost gut wrenching. I have a sister like that. Like,
is it hard?
She's starting to come around. Well, they tried in the whole, when I was getting threatened, they tried to run her over. That's what actually made her. That's what made her go. She called me. She said, somebody just tried to run me over, and I'm like, see, Sonia, I'm telling you, this shit's real. And I'm like, you're sure they didn't? She goes, no, they intentionally tried. And so at that time, she would walk the same route every day. And, in the morning, she would get a walk in. And so she stopped doing that. And then she goes back to her cognitive dissonance and thinks that, oh, no, it's all shit. It's all shit. And then something else happens. And then something else happens. And so slowly she's starting to come about that, because I was a train wreck for a lot of years. I mean, literally, I went to work. I come home, like, say I go to Farwood. I'd be at Farwood at 3 o'clock. I get off at 11 or 12, get home at 1, research or be on the phone with whoever until like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, go to sleep, and then start it all over again. I did that for like 10 years straight. Because they're trying to figure this out. There's so many lies and disinformation. That's why I said, when you have a do not detain on you, it also could be because you're under a federal investigation. So, so you just don't. That's why I say. You just don't know. But it wasn't until after I had sent out the notices and let people know that I was a living man that stuff happened. So I think that it was really the notices, and not that I was in any kind of trouble. But I always take it. I've never been to jail. If that's part of if that's part of the path.
I wouldn't. I am not made for jail.
Yeah.
I would get traded for cigarettes and meat pies. Like that. They always go for the chubby one. I know it. I am not stupid. They go for them. They think we're eating.
Okay.
We're not. I do like meat
Well,
pies though, and I like cigarettes. So I don't know.
that's the one thing I never did. I never smoked.
Don't.
No.
Although I'm telling you, from what I gather, that's what's saving me from the COVID is the nicotine. Who would have fucking known?
It's not, but the COVID's nothing.
I know. I was telling Vicky the other day about, so I go to the grocery store, right? And I walk in there, I forget my mask. And I actually thought of you because her and I had this conversation. She's like, you need to tell Sean this. So I'm telling you the story.
Okay.
I go into the grocery store and there's a woman there with her husband who they have masks on. Mind you, probably, I don't know, I would say probably in the neighborhood of 250, 280, both of them, ginormous.
Mm-hmm.
Both have masks on. I forget mine. She walks up to me, Sean, and says, "Where is your mask? I cannot believe that you are putting my husband and I in jeopardy. He has a heart condition and he's diabetic." I shit you not. I looked in their basket. It looked like they were shopping for a fraternity. They had beer, they had wine, they had Oreos, they had all this shit, bagel bites. I'm like, bitch, COVID ain't gonna take your husband. You feeding him this fucking garbage is what is gonna kill him.
And
COVID should be the last thing.
Well, and then it's like the thing that I want to say to people: look, if you're going to put me in charge of your health, because that's what you're saying, that now I'm responsible for your health, then we're going to get that beer out of that cart right now. We're going to get that wine out of here. We're getting rid of that Oreos. Come on, if I'm in charge of you guys, then I'm really going to take control here, because
I'm going to do it. I'm going to go all out for it. Like, you're going to put those double stuff back, and y'all are going to get some broccoli.
Right. The double stuff will probably make it into my basket, to be honest with you.
But I tell you, I wasn't the one that was pitching a fit. But that's what got me is, and I came home and I got to thinking, I'm like, these people are really putting others on blast during this whole entire pandemic and making other people more aware of, I've heard being selfish, I've heard being rude, and all this kind of shit that they're willing to say to the fellow person that they've known for 30 fucking years. And now, but yet they're not going to take responsibility for themselves.
Right.
It's just passing the buck, just like everything else.
Well, they don't
make this your problem.
They don't know. Luckily, I was raised in a household. My parents owned a health food store in Corning when I was growing up. So I have a very strong foundation in understanding that my body really wants to work for me. And I don't, we never went to the doctor. The only time you go to a doctor is if you break something. But if, like, my mom helped people, this is back in the 80s, my mom helped people reverse cancer. It's because it's just an imbalance in the body. You start throwing drugs on top of that, chemotherapy on top of that. If you believe in it, your body will eventually, because of your belief, your sheer will to go through it, your body will heal itself from it. But you could do it way faster with herbs. But the most people and diet, maybe go on a juice cleanse for 10 days and start taking herbs and start. But most people don't believe it, so it won't work. The belief factor, your mind is so powerful. That's why when you're talking about how there's this vitriol now from people that never used to be there, I think all the years of subliminal programming and bombardment. I mean, what the fuck are we watching? Zombies, vampires. And there, you got Netflix series Lucifer. I mean, what are you embracing? If not everybody falls into the mind programming doesn't work on everybody, but I'm almost positive that there was some sort of trigger subliminal released that culminated it all together. Like if you had like popcorn strings and they were all like kind of spaced out and they just went zip.
Yep.
And then the whole public that was susceptible to the mind programming, it just clicked on. And because I'm with you, it's so polarized, like opposite ends of a magnet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's either it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how you flip it. It doesn't, you know, they're going to think they're right and they're going to assume you're wrong. And there's just no giving. There's no, you know, I don't even know what word to say for it, but there's just nothing there. There's no forgiveness. You know, people, and it's all ages. That's what gets me. It's all, I have never seen, have you ever seen a 99.9% survival rate to shut down the whole entire fucking state? And we didn't even do this for H1N1. We didn't do this for, you know,
Right.
even if you think about it, like one of my girlfriends was telling me, look at West Nile. West Nile during the worst time of the year, which is usually now whenever the rice fields have water in it, all the mosquitoes are out. They were, you know, putting in mosquito bait, going up and down the streets, filling the air full of chemicals. You know, why didn't they make a curfew then? Don't go outside because there's mosquitoes that are gonna, and it did kill a few people. I know that it did. It killed a few of my,
Right.
it was a debilitating virus that they got basically. Why didn't we shut down then?
Well, see, that's where I think. So let's go full circle back to. I know we've been all over the place because I'm all over the place, and that's just.
That's how I am. I'm loving
Yeah.
this. This is fantastic.
Okay.
You're keeping up with me, baby. We're doing
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So to the audience, I apologize if we
They're
are
gonna
all
love
over the
it.
place. But so this goes back full circle is the financial system. There is quadrillions of bad paper and derivatives out there, just bad paper. And there's no way to fix it. So they had to shut the economy down to blame, oh, we were doing so great. Everything was so good. But dang it, that darn COVID just shut everything down. I mean, you can't shut the whole world down and not expect to have that happen, right? So now that's going to allow for the financial reset. We're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve at some point, probably in the next year, I'd imagine. It's already been moved into the Treasury. It used to be a separate entity. Trump is now controlling that. That's why you're getting the $600, the $1,200 paychecks, and the because they're dumping it all on the Fed. We're not going to pay for it. Taxpayers will not pay for this. This is going all onto the Federal Reserve. This is my opinion, but I think it's pretty accurate. There's other people that agree with this theory. The Fed is going to eat all of this, and we're not going to. Debts are going to be forgiven. I have two friends that already have had their student loans forgiven. They're gone.
You can't even file bankruptcy on those fuckers.
Nope, they're gone. They've been forgiven. They're wiped. So it is coming, and it's working through the system slowly. But and everybody, a lot of people who hate Trump are going to end up having to love him because he's gonna show us. We're going to go back to the original organic constitution. We're going to get out of this 1781 crap. We're going to get rid of a lot of these statutes and codes and all this shit that that shouldn't be there. You know, the only way that there's really a crime in law, in real true law, that's why he's the law and order president. He's talking about true law. The only way there's a crime is if you've actually harmed somebody. Going 70 and a 55 is not a crime, and that's extortion for them to take money out of you. That's literally extortion. Because who did you hurt? Where's the victim? Can't have a crime if there's no victim.
So it's kind of like
you can run it off the road and break somebody's fence.
So it's kind of so whenever they pull you over, they get you for, say, going 75 into 70. They're getting you for the potential risk that you could have caused, or
But that's pre-crime division.
Yeah.
That's what that is, and they've been doing it for years. And everybody watches that movie and thinks that'd be a horrible world to live in. What are you talking about? You fucking live there now.
Exactly. Yeah.
You did, yeah. And people think that I'm out there, like, and that's crazy. No, that's what freedom is. That's how the Constitution was supposed to work. Now, keep in mind, I do follow. I set my cruise control at the speed limit. I follow every traffic law. Okay. The other day, though, about a month ago, I was just kind of in my own little world. It was a Sunday, kind of lazy Sunday, and I rolled through a stop sign. And as I rolled through it, there's a cop coming this way, and instantly flips around. By the time he's flipped around, I'm already pulled over. I have my license ready. Same thing. Comes back and says, "Are you in a hurry? What's going on?" I said, "No, I just wasn't paying attention. I just was laughing." And he said, "Well, you seem like you're in a pretty good mood. I'm gonna let you go this time. I don't want to ruin your mood." Because they can't. They can't write the ticket on me because of the do not detain. I'm guessing that's it. Because
I'm gonna have to get a do not detain.
Well, especially because the Orland one is specifically because I have a friend who's a police officer, and we talked, and I told her about the Orland incident, and it was a CHP, and she said, yeah, you have something there because CHPs, that's all they do is write tickets.
Oh yeah,
That's what their job is.
Mhm.
City cops will give you a pass, but you know, so it's I'm living the way the Constitution was supposed to be. I'm not trying to pull a fast one on anybody. I'm not trying to, you know, if I did strong armed robbery, that's still, I would get arrested for that because that's an actual crime, you know. But all these little nickel and diming of people, and yeah, it's unlawful. It's extortion.
Where do you see this ending though? Do you think that, because aren't they saying August 27th or something like that? There's supposed to be a big to do ha, or I mean, do you see it ending in the next couple months, or do you think we're talking? How do you think this is going to reset? Is what I'm trying to ask you. Is in your mind what you've seen and all the shit that you have researched? Should people be afraid, or do you think that they should just
I
let
think I think you're going to have both camps. You're going to have people that
really
experience
think
hell on
that?
you're going to have people that experience hell on earth, because I do believe Trump's going to win. Here's how I think this. I don't think Biden's going to make it to the election. Personally, for a little while there, and I'm kind of coming out of it, but still, I didn't think that. I thought there's no way you can have an election because. And everybody goes, well, we had elections in World War I and World War II, and we continue. You know, we always had them. There's no way that you don't have. The integrity of the election was not in question. And right now, on the Democratic side, they've been playing the Russia, Russia, Russia card. And they were still trying to play the Russia, Russia card until yesterday when John Durham, I don't know if you saw that, he got a plea deal from, he got a signed, I didn't spend too much time on it, but the FBI agent that was involved with the FISA warrants about Russia said that they were fake. He altered them. They were made to look that way, but that wasn't the true story. So it blew the Russia thing out of the water. So now they don't have the Russia card, but I thought they had the Russia card. So if they're saying Russia's going to, if the Democrats are saying Russia's going to meddle in our elections, and the Republicans are saying we don't want mail-in ballots because that's a way to corrupt it. How do you have an election when you have two people saying that there's going to be no integrity in it? I would think you would have to
postpone. No matter how you look at it.
Yeah, so you would have to postpone it, knowing those two things. Well, now the Russia thing's out of the way, and now it's too close to the election for the mail-in ballots to really be able to work because the post office is not getting the funding. He's blaming it on the $1 trillion that that the cities want to, or the states want to bail themselves out because they're in dire. But what he really doesn't want them to have is the mail-in ballots. That's what he doesn't want them to have, because that's how they'll steal it. That's
absolutely.
Yeah. And there's a lot of Democrats that can't see the difference between a mail-in ballot and an absentee ballot. But he's explained it a million times. Absentee is a offer and acceptance. You ask for a ballot, it gets sent to you, you fill it out, send it back in. It's all tracked. Mail-in ballots are like taking a stack of flyers at the post office and sending them in. And that's the difference. You know, that's a real thing.
See, I really genuinely thought when this first started, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you got to figure the baby boomers is the biggest population in this time right now. They're dying daily, but it's a pretty big population. Number one thing about them, they love voting by mail. That's the only way that they trust it. They can't make it to the polls. They're compromised immune system, so they need to stay home in order to vote by mail.
Right.
Because it's the truth. It really is.
Right.
Probably 85% of them smoke, have on dialysis or whatever the fuck you want to name it. And they're sitting at home waiting for that ballot so they can send it in the mail. And that's exactly what they're doing. And that's what I thought whenever this whole thing started. I was like, those fuckers are trying, because and they're the ones that really have been registered to vote since God knows when. So that's what they want. They want those people to stay at home, to shelter in place, and have nothing better to fucking do other than watch CNN and figure out, how big to make the check mark. Yeah. And that's where I thought that this was going. And then when I saw Biden, I was talking to one of my clients and I said, it's my father has Alzheimer's and I see the signs. There's something.
My mom does.
Yeah. There's something genuinely wrong with him. I mean, I mean, I know that you don't have to have Alzheimer's to sniff somebody's hair. I'm sure that's a trait that he's kept for a long time. And
I
even
think
in
he's faking. I think he's faking it.
You do?
I think Biden's faking it. I think. Well, again, I hear I'll entertain anything. You know, and
Same here.
that's the beauty of. I mean, I think everybody really should be that way. Don't buy into everything, but entertain it and like listen to it. I think he's faking it because they know what's coming. Biden has a million charges against him as far as there's a lot of crime that's been created. Kamala, same thing. She's got some questionable things that are also. They know they're arrested. I think they've plea dealed out personally. I think they're going through the motions right now for the public. Biden is going to mysteriously not be able to do it or whatever. They'll probably bring like Elizabeth Warren in with Kamala and whatever. And then Trump's going to win. I think Trump's going to win. And when Trump wins, here's what I do believe. I've heard this for years. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I've heard it for years. There's going to be a 1 week period, where for 24 hours a day on every channel, there's going to be videos explaining what has happened to this nation, how we were hijacked in 1871, how just explaining all the way up to the Social Security Act, which when they took away the gold and silver, and there was all your debts were supposed to be prepaid when that happened in 1933 with House Joint Resolution 192. Your debts were supposed to be able to be paid because they took away gold and silver. They couldn't do that without offering them something of equal or greater value, but it never turned out that way. Your Social Security, the old cards back in the day used to say account, Social Security account, because it was an offset account. So if you went and bought a house, then the Social Security account, you could offset the price of the house and then you own your house. That's how that was supposed to work. But yeah, there's all kinds of weird, and you could still do it now. I actually lost my house. Like I said, I've done a lot of questionable things to roll the dice to see if I could, and I lost. I was helping one girl. Okay, I helped one girl. She lost her car. But I helped another friend, and he kept his car. He never made a payment since, and he's still driving the car to this day. So it was hit and miss, but I helped this one girl, and she lost the car doing the paperwork. They came and repoed it. So I said, well, shit, I can't, I have to put some skin in the game here. So I tried it with my house, and I lost my house because, I mean, that's fair to me. But because I missed a step, I didn't become alive first because I was still dead in the system. A dead man has no voice. That's why you never see election results you want. It doesn't matter what you do, what you vote for, what you say. You're dead. They're administrating you. They're all private people. They've done the paperwork. They are living, and they're administrating the dead masses because everybody's dead in the system. So when you become alive, what you do is you keep those accounts. You keep your bank account. You keep your stock account. But now you are the executor, the administrator, like a probate account, managing the dead man's account. Does that make sense? And that's what rich people do. So,
like, I'm fucking mind blown right now.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think like that. I'm telling you, I've dedicated like 20 years to, and it's taken me one step of the way. But like I said, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've lost my home. I haven't had a girlfriend. Even when I do have a girlfriend, I screw it up. Like, I'm not just because it's just not. That's not what God put me here to do. You know, God put me here to do this. So that's what I'm doing.
There you go. You gotta find what works for you. And trust me, those bitches are overrated anyway. Nothing that a good, R-rated movie and a bag of popcorn wouldn't cure. I tell you what.
Well, I mean, I can't even watch porn anymore because with the child trafficking, and you start understanding what the origin of all that stuff is. I mean, now you used to think, oh wow, these people just man, if they don't care and they're just living the life that they want to live, that's cool. Yeah. But I don't think it is that way. There was one, Sylvia Saint, I think she's from Reading. I think Sylvia Saint, or she's a well-known porn star, but she was from Reading. It was either her or Jenna Jameson, one of the two. But
what's her name? I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, she's a blonde lady, but her dad was a cop, and she said she had a normal life and everything was normal, but I don't know if that was necessarily true. You know, because now Jenna Jameson's coming out right now and saying that she was raped as a kid, and she was, you know, and so you understand the foundation of all that's just wrong anyways. I think it was
Well,
important.
exactly.
Yeah.
You
I think
think
it was
you sit
important
there?
because now you know you're not weird.
No. Well, no.
Uh-oh.
No.
Yeah.
Are you there? Let me check.
Are you having problems on your end? You're breaking up on mine.
Nope. Can you hear me?
Because probably the topic we're talking about.
I bet you it
Probably the
is.
topic we're talking about.
I bet you it is. I'm
I get this all the time.
I'm trying to look at my trying to check my settings for my Wi-Fi. I just got a notification
We're good.
from my Wi-Fi, from my internet connection right
It's
now.
your what?
I just got an email from my internet connection right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
probably the topic. It's a hot topic right now.
yeah. Oh wow.
And I experience this. You see that? I experience that in almost any phone call that I talk about anything. I get echoes on my phone that you can't. I just tell them, I say, get off my phone, and then the echo goes away because they're triangulating the call and they get off. And so I let them know I can hear you, and then they tighten it up. And,
Get off my podcast, damn it.
No, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And that could just be genuinely an internet thing, but that kind of stuff happens to me all the time.
It's kind of weird that I got an email from Xfinity right now whenever I've never had an
Yeah.
email from them a day in my fucking life. So
Well, I tell you, I'm watched. I'm a watched individual.
I'm getting kind of nervous.
Don't be. They don't care about you. But yeah,
Well,
it's a weird world.
I tell you what, you are literally the most interesting man I have ever encountered on. This is like the coolest shit I have ever. We've been talking for almost an hour. You realize that?
Yeah. I mean, it goes fast, huh?
How does that happen? I have
Yeah.
never had this happen before. This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I've never had it to where I can sit there and be like, fuck, you just took me down a rabbit hole and I wanted to get in it till my fingers were fruity.
Twists and turns and yeah.
I love it.
But it's hard for me. It's hard for me to sometimes to relate to people. Pardon me, I
Really?
had to pick up stuff. Yeah, because I'll go off on this, and they'll be like, they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. They're like, what is this
I'm
guy?
like, ooh, I'm gonna find him at a party and sit down. You have nothing nice to say. You come and sit down next to me.
Right. No, and that's usually what I do. If I go out, I usually I find the one person that knows how to keep up with me, and then I don't even pay attention to anybody else.
Easy to find. They have the red MAGA hats. That's the.
You know what? I don't do the MAGA hat, and I don't do the any of that because I personally, I think you're asking me where we end up, and I spiraled out. At the end of this, I think we're not going to have a Democrat and Republican Party. I don't believe we should have those things. I never have understood that, and I really just think that that's one of the things that needs to go away because, like for primaries, why do you have to register as a Democrat or Republican? I should be able to make up my mind 10 minutes before I go into that voting booth. I don't care if it's a primary or if I'm voting for in the 4-year election. I should be able to vote my mind and my heart up until the very second that I press that thing. And if I'm 6 weeks up, in a primary is 6 weeks prior, you have to register as a Democrat or Republican. Like you have to, what if I like a Republican guy 3 weeks in and I've already registered as a Democrat? Am I going to be able to switch that? Am I going to, so you shouldn't have to pick a side. To me, that's the only thing you could do. That's a manipulation tool. It has to be. Why?
I'm telling you right now, I have never in my life, and I feel the same way about the governor and all of them. Fucking get rid of them. They're not doing anything anyway. Get rid of them. I'm almost tempted to fucking move to Sweden for God's sake.
Well, the thing is, if people my understanding too is government was not like you didn't have like a standing, you shouldn't have like a standing army. You didn't have standing armies. You were supposed to have a militia, and you still had an organized army per se, but it's hard to explain. Like in court, we have this court system that just churns people out for tickets and parking tickets, and when a real crime happens, a jury convenes.
Mhm.
It's not like a standing thing that's all the time there. I don't know. And we have some semblance of it, but I just think it's misrepresented. The same thing with governors, and same thing. Their Congress, I didn't think used to meet every day. I think they used to convene for a small period of time, and then they would go home. That's why it was a low-paying position. It was a volunteer position. You did it to serve your country. But now you can get paid $174,000 a year, and then you get all these perks and this and that and this and that. We're doing it. That's under the corporate. That's a corporate thing, not the original organic Constitution. And that's what I think we're going to go back to. And I'll invite you to my private Facebook group.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and the Act of 1871 is actually pinned at the top, because that's kind of the foundation of. So what I think is happening is we're going to come out of that and go back to the original organic Constitution. And there's going to be, like I said, a week. I think this is what I've heard forever, that is going to explain to everybody what happened. This is what happened, so that people know.
I hope they use small words and pictures, because there's a lot of people that are going to have a hard time understanding this.
Yeah. Well, did you see the movie Out of Shadows, by the way?
Mhm.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Okay. Like, to me, it's a very heavy topic. But to me, it was candy. It was candy, cotton candy, fluff.
Mhm.
And to me, a lot of it seemed really bad, almost poor acting in it.
Horrible.
Horrible acting. But Liz Crokin, who's in that movie,
Mhm.
She's on my Facebook page. Or I follow her. She's not on my Facebook page, but I follow her. And she's been in this for a long time. And she has an impeccable reputation as a reporter. She was in the mainstream for a long time until she brought child trafficking to the forefront. And then all of a sudden she got blacklisted, and she's went through they tried to kill her dog. I mean, there's been some stuff that just really, really, she's an authority on this stuff. And I don't know, have you noticed that Hollywood always chimes in about everything? They always chime in about, they do the PSAs in black and white, and be time to end race, or time to end,
I will no longer stand by. I will no longer keep silent. Where the fuck have you been this past 40 fucking years?
Where the fuck are they right now with child sex trafficking?
Exactly.
They're implicated in it.
I didn't realize this. You have to admit that all this shit came around with the hashtag Me Too movement. Now all of a sudden they're in the front for saying, I won't stand by and let this shit happen anymore. I'm not going to do this. And, I'm not going to let somebody be a victim. I think which this is going to sound terrible, but I'm a woman and I'm entitled to my opinion. So if anybody has one, don't come at me. But if you get raped for a part and your price tag is $2 million and you don't tell somebody, you just created 14 other fucking victims.
Right.
You should be held responsible. It's no different than the teacher. Well, that teacher touched me inappropriately. We need to start raising our girls to stand up for themselves. I tell my kid all the time, somebody tries to take you, you scream as loud as you want. You scream, you stand up, but everybody's they want to just be in a corner and people are going to get mad. No, stand up for yourself.
There's shame and embarrassment. I was molested by a next door neighbor, dude, when I was a kid.
Yes.
And my sister and I both were, and I try not to bring her into it, but the point I like to make is we were told not to say anything, but I was the loudmouth, and I said it at the dinner table. And the very next day, my mom and dad went and confronted him, and then the guy was gone within the day.
You are a hero because you made it to where you saved countless of people, strangers who you didn't even know. But you know what? You did something about it.
Yeah. And I was 5. I was 5, and I'm like,
yeah. No, I think that at some point, it's no different than with this COVID thing. At some point, people are going to have to take responsibility for themselves. And, children, of course, that's your parents' job. I tell my daughter all the time, my job is to protect you. I may sound like a jerk to you or rude or whatever, but that's my job. My job is to protect you because I'm an adult, and no different than these other adults. They need to get on here and they need to start speaking up. If something's wrong, say something. Nobody should have a price tag when it comes to shit like that. And Hollywood is fucking full of them. That's like that Gal Gadot or whatever, the Wonder Woman, singing that song, oh, Imagine. Did you see that? Where she got all of
No.
Hollywood friends to sing Imagine.
Oh yeah.
That was the dumbest fucking thing on the planet. They're all sitting in their multi-million-dollar mansions and they think that they're gonna cure it by singing Imagine by John Lennon.
And that's the funny thing, like that I've noticed, and I noticed when everybody was still going out and milling about and everything, all these celebrities were doing this. Oh, I can't get a haircut. I'm stuck in my home, and dude, I've left my home a million times. Why are you still? You can go out, but they
Oh
pretended
no,
like
they can't.
but
They're
they
driving with
pretended
masks in their car.
they were pretend. It was just so foolish to me that people are sitting here buying it, and I see a lot of people. They go the opposite direction with a lot of the Q followers. You follow Q at all?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't need Q. I already had. I'm already exposed. I know a lot of this. As a matter of fact, I've known that this was a military operation for years, and I would tell people this is a military operation. I did not expect Trump. Two things I did not expect. I did not expect Trump to be the lead man. And
No.
I've known everything's happening. I've known about since 2009. So, but I did not know who the lead man was. That's why I created the Facebook group, to prepare people for the financial collapse and to understand that they're shutting the world down because they're going to reset the financial system. That's. But I didn't expect COVID, and I didn't expect the tracking system. I thought the tracking system would be, for money. I didn't expect it to be.
You have to put it in the wrist so that way you could pay people
But they're tying it in together with the virus, and
Bill Gates is going to get it.
I don't think so. That's not going to happen. I don't see that happening at all.
Do you know how many people that if there was a cure, they'd have told them, hey, get on this train car and we'll take you to go get a cure? There'd be half of the fucking population standing in line outside of a railroad car.
Right now, I just don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't think that's going to. I think you're going to have a choice. I think you're going to have a choice. There are going to be people that will get that vaccine. And Trump has even said that it's not going to be mandatory. And he said he's going to have the army administer it. The reason he's going to have the army administer it is because there's not going to be foul play in that. It's going to be tested. It's going to make sure that you're not going to be able to, So I just don't think what's happening is, like I said, give them rope, and then flip the script. Give him rope, flip the script. So he just gives him rope, and he let Fauci play out until Fauci now looks like an idiot to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his credibility is completely low.
Shot. But Trump lets him play out. Mm-hmm. And I was not a fan of Trump. I have had to warm up to Trump because in this game you get so many people that they gain your confidence and your friendship, and then they turn on you in a second. And I didn't know if Trump was going to be that. Trump could still be that. I don't see why. You already had the game beat, so why would you do all this stuff and wake this public up? And so to me, I don't think he's that guy. But I always, because of I've been in this so much, and I've had people, you start to warm up to them, like, okay, and then bam, they flip on you. And so I just don't see. The world was normal in January, and look at how it flipped in a month. You had everybody terrified, and
and they shut everything down. That's the shitty thing.
Yeah, and I don't know. And
I think what we should have done is just watch an episode of The Simpsons, and it could have pretty much just everything.
Yeah, and they can do that because it's the script.
Exactly.
That's how they're able to predict it, because they're actually doing it, and that just blows my mind. That everybody gets so baffled. Wow, that's weird. I wonder how they did that. Are they time travelers? No, they're just the ones creating it.
Nobody is that fucking good. I don't care who you are. Nobody is that.
But why will they go to the time traveling idea before believing that they're a corrupt group that's manipulating you?
We've had actual proof that alien ships, like the government is finally announcing, yeah, you know what? There's some fucked up ship flying in the air. We don't know what it is. We have no idea.
That's ours.
And we're sitting there like, what? I feel like we missed the murdering hornets. Like, I feel like we missed. Well, hey, we got to wrap this up.
Okay.
Will you come back?
Yeah, if people want to hear me ramble on again, I will.
You
Yeah,
will?
yeah,
Oh man,
oh, yeah.
this was awesome. I loved
Okay.
every minute of it. This was great. Yeah, this is if anybody has any questions, can they message you on Facebook or ask you, like, because I know that you mentioned the Facebook group that you created. If there's some serious interest in it, are you kind of
No,
okay? Good to
it's
know.
it's a private group for a
Good.
reason. And no offense to anybody that would
No.
show interest in it. I totally that it's I feel honored if anybody really would want to be a part of
Yeah.
whatever I've created here. But it's I'll play it by ear. How about
Okay.
this? If they have questions,
I'll forward them to you.
or if they keep a, can you just keep a list, like have like a notepad, like
Absolutely.
on your desktop, a folder, and then if I come on again, just
I always keep a white piece.
okay,
I
and then I'll
got
just
you.
think of questions. Like if people have questions, and if I can answer them, then I will, and if I don't have an answer, I won't. I might have. I usually have some insight on any topic almost, but
Hey,
yeah.
anybody that has any questions, you guys, you know that you can email me at noconditions2020@gmail.com. Also, you guys can find us on Facebook and Instagram. So if you guys have any questions for Sean, please don't hesitate. Email me, ask me, and I will make sure that they get to the right hands.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I've had a great time, and this was kind of impromptu a little bit because it went a little out an hour earlier than
Hey,
and I had to
I think
set up
it's
some.
great.
Yeah.
I think it's
It was
great. We
good.
did awesome. I want you
Yeah.
to come back though. This was
Okay.
fantastic. Well, hey,
Perfect.
I will let you go. I appreciate you. And everybody, this is Monica from No Conditions. Take care. We'll see you soon.